Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Small Business Success Summit. I'm your host, Owen at thevideospot.net. You can also read my personal musings over at owenhemsath.com. Although admittedly most of that content is actually on my YouTube channel. But we're not here to talk about me. I'm super excited because today I'm interviewing somebody. I felt like I had to pull her arm a little bit to come interview with me because I know she's got a ton going on. She's got a ton of great content, and she's a leader in a burgeoning new area of video marketing. So I think you're all in for a real treat today as we talk about live video. But here's the thing with this, with my guest expert today. She is a ball of frickin' fire. And amazing personality, amazing energy, and just somebody who you talk to and you feel like you've been good buddies, like all through high school. Like, this is the girl that you sat next to in class, and you kind of had a crush on her, but at the same time you wanted to be your buddy too. So I'm sitting here talking to her, and I want to be like, like, hey, wouldn't that guy look stupid with a mustache, or something like that, I could just imagine being in an event with her and goofing off in the back row. So, maybe we'll have to make that happen. But we're going to talk about live video. And for those of you guys that know me a little bit more intimately, you know that I'm a big proponent of live video. It's a core profit center at Video Spot. I've also been interviewed about live video because live video is not just something for Gideon Shalwick to do. Live video could be used within your company to communicate. It can replace conference calls. There's a whole live video can be shot live and then recorded and then streamed back out again. There's just so much to do with it, and I'm hoping that this presentation kind of opens you up a little bit and starts you to get thinking like creatively and how you can use this. Not if you can use it, but how you can use live video to reduce your costs, increase your profits, increase your margins, and grow your business. So we're in for a real treat today. I want to introduce you to my guest, Miss Brandee Sweesy. Brandee, are you there with me?
I am. Thank you. What a great intro. Oh, a crush. Yay. That's the first time I've heard that, so I was super excited about that. Thank you.
And if my wife is watching, I meant that in a nice way.
Yeah, well, yeah, and high school, so a few years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, for the audience that isn't familiar with your stuff, tell us a little bit about, what you're doing and how you got here.
It's funny, like Google Hangouts. So that's really my current, quote unquote niche. And it was one of those things where I kind of fell into it, really. I say I was lucky, and everybody says to stop saying that. So, I've been in marketing and public relations for 20 years and a public speaker. And I was trying to launch another brand, and I decided to do a hangout on my birthday. And, I got like 500 or 600 viewers just from posting a post on my personal Facebook wall. And I was like, what? Why isn't everybody doing this?
Right.
And, of course, I hired a couple of experts, and, love the experts. The Google experts are, brilliant and tech geniuses, and I am the poke and hope girl. And so, I hired a couple of them, and I was like, okay, there's got to be more to this. And so I just, started doing research, and then people started offering me money, and I was like, it's free, right? And so it's like over time, it kind of evolved. Like the first time somebody offered me money, I was like, Hangouts are free? But sure, if you want to give me, I don't know, a couple $100 would be good. It was like one of those bizarre things.
Yeah.
And then over time, I realized my contribution to it. So yeah. So that's where.
And for somebody that's not necessarily or doesn't consider themselves to be tech savvy, it's not easy. There are, especially when you're using HOA, HOA through YouTube Live, and it's asking you about your encoding options. Those are not terms that people are generally comfortable with. Your webcam settings and your microphone settings. So having somebody there to kind of help out, I think, is pretty valuable, and that's sort of the role that you played.
Yeah, initially that's what it was. It was really simplifying it because, like, I'm lucky I get my phone to work. So I was just really looking for the simplest way to do it. And then that, like anybody, your evolutionary process, the more you learn about something, then what I really started to realize was the value of the marketing and the strategy. And so then, as my prices increased and my value increased, I realized it was 90% strategy and 10% what buttons to push. And that was a big turning point in my business was, coming to that realization that, one of my mentors said, stop trying to sell a free tool, sell your contribution to the free tool. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was, that was a good turning point for me, because I was really just, my claim to fame was making it simple. Initially, in the first couple of months, it was just making it simpler.
Right. So now what are you doing now? And now you are an HOA consultant. Tell us a little bit about, kind of your business now.
So I started off, I have products out there. I have Hangouts for Business Producers Academy, so it teaches people how to be producers of Hangouts, because a lot of times, not everyone is like you and I that are into video. At this point, it's muscle memory for us.
Yeah.
But most people are so nervous about being on camera, then having to push the right buttons, then managing their website, and then managing their content and things like that. So I train people how to be producers for people that want to be on Hangouts. And I find like about 30% of my people that purchase Producers Academy actually want to do it for themselves as well, but then later on discover that it's just a lot easier. Like for me, you're running the Hangout today, so I pretty much just sit back and talk, and I've got nothing to worry about. But when you're trying to do a presentation, it's a little stressful for people. And so I have that, and then obviously I do the consulting as well, but strictly high-end people. So, the only people that pay me for consulting are higher-end people. And I go in and I train their teams, and then their teams are producers, and, and then they take it and run with it.
It's such a great business, and if anybody is out there that you're a marketing manager for a business, or you're kind of like this, like whatever entrepreneur, the live stream producer role, I think, is a super valuable role, and we've made a commitment not to sell anything here on the summit, but I know that some of those products would definitely be worth checking out, because it's like the gold rush, or some kind of booming business. Eventually the market will be saturated with live stream producers. But like you, I fell into it. I kind of knew how to do it. Word got out, and I got asked to do it. And she's like, "Can you live stream?" And I was like, "I can learn how to live stream."
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's really cool, and I'm looking forward to covering the content today, because it's needed, right? So like we're doing a live situation right now. Of course, we're pre-recording this, and then it's going to go out again live. We're going to launch it to the world live. Why live video? Why does that matter?
Oh, I mean, there's tons of things. There's the psychological aspect, and then there's obviously, we all want the money. But the biggest thing is that, and this is what I talked about in the very beginning, is that so when we first came out, blogging was the big transparency. Transparency and authenticity were the catchphrases of a few years ago, right? So blogging really brought about that transparency. And then we added in teleseminars. So we got some type of tonality with that person too. So we felt a little bit more connected. Then we had the go-to webinar. So we got to see a visual, and we got to hear the tonality. We were giving slide presentations, and we got to hear the person kind of, mess up and laugh and things like that. So we're still closing the empathy gap. And then with YouTube marketing, I felt like, it's fantastic. And, it's so funny, because we feel like, we've been doing this for a while. But, some people get intimidated by, teleprompters and video stuff, which is why you fill that niche, having to go buy all this expensive equipment and editing and all of these big things.
Yeah.
So people feel a little bit overwhelmed by that. And then when you do a live event, I've had some, Hangouts go really bad. Like my worst, where I thought it was going to be a career ender, netted me my biggest client. So you really start to close the empathy gap, because you're on live, it's unscripted, things can go wrong. I mean, my backdrop's falling on my head, my softbox is falling over, and I remember my very first Hangout where I was trying to make a pitch, and I was trying to do slides, and I'm like chomping through my stuff, and I'm having a great old time going through my slides. I'm having a lot of fun. And then I go to the questions, to the chat, and everybody's like, "Do you see your slide?" There's 50 comments. No one sees my slides moving. I break out in a sweat. My face, I'm Irish, so my face is bright red. My lips all sweaty. And I'm like, okay, well, and then everybody's trying to help me figure out my slides. I was like, well, this is live, so we can't just sit here and you watch me try to figure out what's going on with my slides. So I'll just go ahead and email my slides to you, and
there you go.
Good end broadcast. You know what I mean? It was so on air, just sweat, beet red. I mean, it's probably still out there on YouTube. Something I may have unlisted it, but that was one of those things. So
that I could totally relate to that. I do a live call with my tribe the third week of the month, and I just did a pretty advanced. I was using Wirecast, and I was doing screencasting and all on my own, and it's a lot. It's a lot to do on your own. But in the end, I was really happy with it. I was high-fiving myself. I went out for a beer afterwards. It takes forever to transcode, So then I come home and I watch it. I watch just the beginning, the middle, and the end to make sure that, just kind of like little chunks. And I go and I watch the very end, and when I went to the split screen, the audio cut off. So the last 2 minutes, my pitch, my call to action, nothing. It's just all just.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of like, it is. Like, you hate it when that kind of stuff happens, but that's what I was talking about, like why everybody should be doing it, because it does close the empathy gap. I mean, it sucks when your pitch doesn't go through. You know what I mean? But it really does. People are like, oh, look, you're the video expert and shit happens to you too. Oh, okay. So you can relate to me. So you're not here and I'm here, Stuff happens to all of us. I don't care who you are, just shit happens. And so that's why I love the live aspect of that. I still like the video marketing and professional productions and things, but I also think that this is important as well, as to have that live aspect.
Well, it's kind of like the grocery store. I mean, you can be in retail, but there's lots of different aspects to retail, right? And it's just video marketing. There's, the pre-recorded video, the standard video is one aspect of it. The animated video is another, but then there's also the live aspect to it as well. And I think a healthy video marketing strategy incorporates all of these things.
Yeah, and I think you and I talked about this on the phone a couple weeks ago, and that's the big missing component. And you and I both got so wound up about this because we're both so passionate about it. The massive missing component is that people are not using these live events and applying video marketing to them. So I was talking about like the psychology side of it. Okay, so we talked about closing the empathy gap, but let's talk about the money side of it. So use these live events. They're going to rank faster, they're going to rank higher, and you don't need to be like some type of guru or genius to just go in and optimize those live events, and then it's just this evergreen thing that's making you money. Provided that, you take the time and do your research. And so I see a lot of the gurus and all the plugins that came out in the last year and a half around Hangouts. And those are all great, and those are good for. It's all strategy. I mean, that's what it boils down to. It's not just though I say just pop open your laptop and grip it and rip it. You do need to. It's your business, and so any effort that you do in your business, you want that to generate some type of revenue.
Now, how you have for what now?
Or some type of connection with your audience. You may not just be trying to sell, but you want some type of connection with your audience.
Yeah, and that goes back to I've talked about the three pillars of video marketing is platform, people, and purpose, right? What's the purpose of your video? Like, why are you even doing this? Because it's like you don't do video for video's sake. That's vanity, right? You want to like actually have a reason behind it. So so it's one thing to be like a personal brand, which I think everybody should be trying to build in some way, shape, or form. But what about the business that is, they are in retail. They got a retail store. They're a local bakery, or perhaps they're like I've got a veterinary client. They're $4 million a year business. They have 2 different locations. How can different businesses, non-personal brands, use live video in their marketing? What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, and that's why I say, like, everyone can use Hangouts and live video. You and I both know this. The ranking alone, the first page of Google, you can usually get, because so videos outrank everything else, right? I mean, that's just the norm. Live videos, because YouTube ranks on current and relevant content. Well, live is as current and relevant as it possibly can get. So, like, as a veterinarian, you show, like, they do once a week. If they just even did a Hangout, I mean, I'm sure with your clients, they probably do a little bit, bigger productions, when they're making that kind of money. But even if you just did a Hangout, like, meet the staff, start, personalizing, the experience of coming to that veterinarian clinic instead of, the big, huge productions. Maybe it's just that week you talk to the veterinarian and tips about, whatever seasonal things are going on, things that are current and relevant to veterinary care, so what to look for in cats this time of year. Dogs, there might be, depending on where they are in the country, there might be ticks, or I don't know, like just different little tips like that. And I tell people, like, when you do a live Hangout, a lot of people feel like they want to do these big, huge productions on a Hangout. And
totally.
I was the same in the beginning. I really wanted it to look like a TV show. A couple of things is, one, remember, we're trying to close the empathy gap and more bond with our audience in a live setting. And you don't need to do these big hour-long productions. If you look at, like, we were talking about this before we went on air, like a Gary Vee or Marie Forleo or Brendan Burchard, they do 7, maybe 10-minute videos, mostly less than 10. And your average TV show, an hour TV show, is 44 minutes of content. Your average half-hour TV show is only 17 minutes of content. So to come on and try to be engaged for an hour and expect your people to be engaged for an hour, you know, like we're doing this, and obviously they're set up for that. But if you were going to do this, you know, 5 days a week, that probably would be a little bit much. But, you know, like as a local business or as a personal brand, you can just go out and put out 5-6 minutes of content and just keep on building your brand that way. And I say this for real estate agents, talk about your neighborhood. You start ranking for that. You know, like the bricks and mortar business, you know, just showing examples of how to use it or what it would look like. You know, like, isn't there a famous YouTube girl that shows people how to do makeup? Like, isn't she like the same thing? So
yeah, there's only one. Only one, though. I forget her name.
Yeah, I don't know. People have told me about it on interviews. I'm like, I don't know. I don't go on.
Beauty is something like $70 billion on YouTube. It's the biggest YouTube industry. And I think gaming is like top 10, but it doesn't even touch beauty.
Is that beauty? Does that include health and fitness? Because I think health and fitness is the biggest.
I think health and fitness is like top 3.
Really? So beauty outranks health and fitness? Yeah,
specifically like makeup and hair.
That's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
And 70 billion. Big one. It's huge. It's absolutely massive. And you know what? Here's the thing: is that the girls that do, and some of the guys too. I subscribe to a couple of men's fashion video blogs because I like T-shirts. So when it comes to time for date night, you know, it's like I don't know how to wear a scarf. You know what I mean? But my wife wants me to dress up. So, but here's the thing: is that, you know, if you've got a bakery, then you have to get rid of all like that voice inside your head that says, oh, my customers wouldn't be interested, or who would watch that? You know what I mean? Because they will. You know, half the world is on YouTube, and so coming up with these ideas is really the easy part. The hard part, I think, is just kind of deciding to do it, and then the next part is making sure that you have the equipment to do it. So let's talk about that. Like, what is it that you need to actually be successful with an HOA strategy?
I mean, basically, like when I started, it was just my laptop and my iPhone headset, which clearly I'm still using as my earpieces because my vanity dictates that and not be dangling from my face any longer. So in the beginning, I just used my iPhone headset and my laptop. So any webcam works. Basically, just to up your game just a tad. Like I have like the little snowball. I happen to have that. I didn't invest in that. And then the Logitech C920. I think it's like $70 on Amazon or something like that, and it fits in the palm of your hand.
I need to get that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It fits in the palm of your hand. It's like so tiny and $70, and you put it on a tripod or you can hook it to your laptop. You know, it's HD. It streams out more because like when you're on your laptop, you're kind of like, you know, too much of a talking head. So I like it because I can back it up off a little bit without a massive investment. Like you're the video guy, so of course it's all kinds of expensive equipment. But for me, my whole setup, I have 2 soft boxes. I think I paid maybe $100 for them. They travel with me everywhere. So my entire setup is my laptop, the snowball, my headset, the webcam, and 2 soft boxes. And I have a little carrying case. And so no matter where I'm at, like right now I'm in LA. I got here on Friday. I'll be here for another 30 days, and then I might go to Ireland at the end of the month. So my soft boxes will come with me everywhere just because of lighting. But I tell people, like, you know, the biggest thing, and we know this, like in marketing, this is the biggest thing. It's all about consistency. You do not want 5,000 people on your first Hangout. You just don't. Trust me. You're not comfortable yet. You're still trying to figure out buttons. You're not looking at the camera properly. You know, so it's all about consistency, and you're going to get better, and then your flow is going to get better. And so before you go out and invest a ton of money in a bunch of stuff, just start doing Hangouts. And then as you get better, then maybe you buy a better camera. You know, then maybe you get the soft boxes. Then maybe, you know, you get the wrapper, you know, whatever latest plugin is out there for Hangouts. You know, it just like what you talked about before, you know, like making sure you know why you're doing them and then start consistently doing them. I'm a firm believer. I don't, you know, you don't see me out there pushing a bunch of different plugins and things. It's like just get comfortable with doing it consistently. And then you're going to get better. You're going to be smoother on camera. You're going to have your flow down a lot better. Then if you've done, let's say, 10 Hangouts, okay, then it's time to invest in a piece of equipment. Or maybe your strategy is, you know, something different. Then maybe it's time to invest in a plugin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But really master Hangouts first and then move on to the next step and do it consistently. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think consistency is huge. I mean, can you imagine, you know, going to your television to watch your favorite Tuesday night show and it's not there? And we've all experienced this. Or like for me, my family, we're big into the Goldbergs, right? Which is this TV show. It's so funny. It's like the Wonder Years, but like from the 80s. So I totally relate to it. And when I go to watch it on Hulu and there's no new episode, I mean, I feel burned, right? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like I'm tuning in, like the popcorn is already made already, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how your audience will feel, maybe not on the same emotional level because of the value content, you know what I mean? Like these are high Hollywood productions, whatever. But when they log on to YouTube, they want to see that you have new content. They don't want to see that same video that they've seen popping up for the last 2-3 weeks or 2-3 months. You know, you want to be on a show, on a content schedule, right? And you make the decision to do 10 of them, and then you just do them.
Yeah.
Right? So why do you do them? Like, and let's start with that because I have another question I want to ask you. But why? You talked about making money or building a connection. Let's expand on that a little bit more and talk about why live video is something we should be investing time into.
Well, okay, so investing time, right? But it's free, first of all. Second, like what we talked about, you're closing the empathy gap. You're getting more of a deeper connection with your audience. Your audience is going to be broader. You're going to be building your tribe. That's the biggest thing. You know, we were talking about this before we went on air, you know, about really just being ourselves. You're going to start to attract the people that resonate with you. Instead of trying so hard to be everything to everyone, you know, just doing this, you have no choice. I mean, you might be able to fake it a little bit, but eventually your energy is going to come through. Your sincerity is going to come through. So just being yourself on live video, you're going to start to attract the people that you're meant to work with. I think that's, you know, and like I said, then it's free also. The rankings are incredible. You know, some basic branding, you know, just like having your website there, you know, people know where to go and look you up. So even if they never heard of you, and that's the other, like, well, go ahead. I'll let you ask some questions. Because that's the other thing. I think people title their videos way wrong, and you probably agree with this. But
let's talk about that because that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, so everybody, like I see, like if you go to the Hangout on Air page or into YouTube, people like try so hard to like make sure their keywords are in there, or they have some brand. Let's like, okay, so I like to play on BS because my initials are BS. So what if I did BS and OW episode 3? Nobody gives a crap who BS is, or, you know, OW, you know what I mean? So when, you know, YouTube it's a search engine is what it is. So when I go to Google, I don't go episode 37 of BS. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for how to use Hangouts for business, how, you know, how to create better videos, how to light my videos, you know, how to decorate a cake. You know, how to, you know, wash my dog when they're high in anxiety. You know, I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing stupid stuff out there. But, you know, you have to think of it as a search engine. And so many people, you know, they jump into Hangouts on Air, and then it's kind of, they do more vanity-based, but they put their keywords in there. Like, they think they've done all this keyword SEO research, and like nobody's ever going to find your video that way. So think of it as a, what would you go on? Like last time you went on YouTube, did you look, maybe you looked up, okay, a celebrity you'd look up. But like for me, how to install lead pages on my, you know, hosted on my server. You know, I don't say, you know, lead pages, period. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to figure out how to do something.
Or Brandee S talks about landing page installation.
Yeah, like nobody's gonna look for that. Like I'll like never make it like anywhere. But as I say, you know, like if you're trying to brand yourself, yeah, put your name in there, but at the tail end and in the keywords, you know, not so much like make sure your value proposition is your lead in. Like, you know, what are you offering your audience?
Yeah, and all of these videos will be titled based on, you know, the content that we covered and problem solving, right? So I haven't named this interview yet, but it'll probably be something like how to do a Google Hangout for business. Yeah. You know? And it's not like I'm going to be the only video out there on this, but we're driving traffic to it. There's marketing behind it. And that's kind of the same approach that a business wants to have. It's not just that you don't just shoot your video and you're done. Right. You know, you shoot your video and then you email it to your database, and then you post it on your Facebook page and you tweet it out 5 times. You know, and what you're trying to do is gain some traction and increase. That's what I wanted you to say, was to increase your tribe, because there's not enough emphasis in any business on list building and the size of your list. And that's your list is a couple different things, right? It's like those are the people that you hope will buy from you, but those are also the people that will share your content. So you're a local retailer. You're in San Diego. You got a retail store. I get this question all the time. Why do I care if somebody in New York reads my blog? Right? Or in this case, watches my video. It's because it's embedded in your website, and if they watch it longer, they're on your website longer, and that increases your SEO so that when somebody in San Diego is searching for your product, you're more likely to show up because you're the leader. You're the guy doing the blog and the video and all this other kind of stuff. Would you agree with me? Am I wrong? Did I miss something?
No, I mean, I think that's brilliant. You know, it's all about relationship building. I mean, that's the catchphrase nowadays, right? You know, we really are in a we have been moving in that direction for a very long time. And particularly, like, we get it as, coaches and consultants and things like that, the personal brand and the relationship build. But for sure, bricks and mortar retail space, that you have to be building that relationship with people. I will pay. Well, Apple's a great example of that. I love me some Apple, right? I am loyal to Apple. They can charge me 10 times as much, but I'm buying an Apple. I like to go to the Apple store. They treat me really well. They know how to build a relationship with me, so you'd be hard pressed to get me to turn away from that, and I'll pay top dollar for that relationship. So same thing if you're a retail store. You're building that relationship. You're the authority. You're giving, right? That was the other big catchphrase the last couple of years. Give, then receive. So you're giving to your audience. Maybe you're teaching them how to do a scarf. Well, come fall when it's scarf season, then you're like, hey, I've been telling you all about scarves and different types of scarves and the material of scarves and the best colors that work on what age group and whatever. You're sharing all this content about that. Well, when it comes time to buy a scarf, I'm buying a scarf from the person that taught me how to do a scarf. I can go anywhere and get a scarf, but I'm going to do it because that person built a relationship with me or that brand's built a relationship with me.
Absolutely, and that's so huge because if you're e-commerce or you're retail, and I know there's a lot of you out there, and you are just you look at yourself as a place where your audience buys things from you, they're not loyal, you're going to lose them to someone else that establishes the relationship. And live video there's a vulnerability there. Would you agree that you're like, hey, I'm willing to look stupid in front of all of you just so that you know how to tie this scarf a little bit better?
That's what I love. I mean, now they're my favorite. You know what I mean? Because I like that. Like I said, I was a producer for a Hangout for somebody, and he was like losing it, right? And he ended broadcast, and I was like, okay, well, clearly we lost the connection. So anyway, more people. And he's relatively famous. Well, actually pretty famous in this space, but it was so funny that I told him later on, I was like, you should have just said, stayed on and said you were getting frustrated because people would have related more to you, but it was hilarious. And then I was like caught on the spot because I had initiated the Hangout. I was like, okay, so yeah, you know what I mean? Like I didn't know what to do. But,
and you know what? That makes you more relatable. It's like this. I hadn't heard this expression. I mean, I've heard it, but never really closed the empathy gap. It makes so much sense. What you're doing is you're making yourself vulnerable and showing your audience that you are not untouchable, that you're not super polished, even though you might be. I consider myself to be pretty polished, but on my live videos you're going to hear the stuff, because I'm like squirrel. When I hear anything, like, it distracts me, and I think it makes your audience feel a little bit closer to you. Like we were just talking about, I'm listening to Gary Vee's audiobook right now, and I'm listening to that audiobook, and like I feel like I know Gary, even though I'm not even, I know people that know him, but I don't even know them that well. You know what I mean? He's very distant to me, and what audio does is it closes that gap. Video does it even more because it looks like the person's looking right at you.
Well, you probably realize this, because I've done clearly a lot of video and a lot of video with famous people and Hangouts and things like that, and people will run up to you at events and be like, Brandee, and I'm like, hey, I saw your video, and I'm like, awesome, nice to meet you. Who are you? You know what I mean? But they feel like they know you and that they're really very much connected to you, and I think it's awesome, and I find it really fascinating, and particularly well, going back to what we were talking about, so the day of the guru is gone, right? So we don't want to hold somebody on a certain pedestal, and then I feel like, well, that's you. You have all of these things, but I'll never be able to achieve that.
Right, right, right.
We want somebody that's, a few steps ahead of us that can say, hey, these are the pitfalls to avoid. We want somebody a little bit closer in that. We don't want to hold ourselves in the, the 80s lifestyle of the rich and famous where I'm this and you were that.
And that's the mystique of the old media. That's the mystique of the old media, because the gatekeepers, there are editors who edit the editor's work, right? Like that video, that TV show, that article went through so many chains of command to make sure it was perfect. And that's we're disillusioned by that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why, we're really starting to see a drop in the kind of the guru mentality, and a lot of, guru bashing is, because there was such a wide gap. And so I think that's another thing about live video. I think video in general, but particularly live video, like I like that you say the vulnerability of it is that you really start to connect up with your audience on a different level. And just like when you write your lists and things, like you never write to a list, you write to an individual. So when I write my emails to my list, I'm writing to a certain individual. I'm not writing to the whole. And same when I do video, I'm not thinking, big, huge, massive audience. I'm thinking one person that I'm going to be able to help and connect with, and that's going to be inspired and is, going to take action and is going to, get out there and share their message. I'm not thinking about, 1,000, 100, 500. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking a person. I want to change one person. And so when I'm looking into the camera, I'm thinking about one person. And I hope that inspires you and that you go take action and that you kick butt in your life and in business.
Do you feel like that's because you're talking about like the customer avatar, the buyer persona, which is super important. I think for me, I was training on this stuff way before I really internalized it myself, because I found that when I was writing or doing a video, I was still trying to talk to everybody. Even though I had my buyer persona on my wall from my HubSpot template that I downloaded for free, and I was doing all the right. I was talking the talk, but not walking the walk. Do you think that's a problem that a lot of business owners face still, is kind of trying to please everybody?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, we were talking about this before. I even, I suffered from it. I go in waves. Like one of my brands is really, it's JFBYOU, which stands for Just Fucking Be You. And I've gone through my own waves of, certain levels of success, and then trying to be everything to everybody, and then having to back off and say, okay, wait a minute. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, where am I the highest functioning and the most helpful? I mean, because at the end of the day, my driving force has been for well over 15 years is to help others to achieve their goals. And so I'm not going to be able to help everyone do that, but there's going to be certain people that are going to resonate with me, and there's going to be certain people that don't like me. And I just have to, I'm long past making everybody like me. But when you are in the public, sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to offend that person. I don't want to go on this rant at this point. But I think that when I was ranting and raving, when no one knew who I was, I just didn't give a shit. And so I was just all over the place all the time. I have a tribe. You know what I mean? These people that like totally resonated with me. And I wasn't doing it for that purpose. This was just truly how I felt about a lot of things. I have an opinion about a lot of things. And so, those people naturally gravitated towards me. And so I think that that's really important. And so I struggle with the whole avatar thing. I don't have an avatar. I have more of a psychographic, kind of, as you and I've talked about, like, I'm notorious for, drinking and cussing and, having very strong opinions. I'm also very inspiring. I'm very caring. And so I'm looking for more of those, the people that want to break the norm, that want to, like, what box? There's no box. Like, let's full speed ahead. And, those are the people that are going to relate to me. Are they male or female? I don't know. Are they 25, 35, 45? I don't know. What do they drive? I don't know. Where do they work? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I get it. Yeah. I get it, because I'm actually in my evolution too. It's been the same thing. I went from having like a customer avatar where he had a name and a gender identity and all these different things, and really it's more of a psychographic now. It's kind of like somebody who's got a business and is facing these types of challenges more than anything else. And I think that's a lot of those are going to relate. It depends on what type of business that you're in, and it's not whether it's not my buyer persona that matters. It's what you, the audience who's watching this, it's do you know your audience well enough to know what they're struggling with? And are you able to create content around those things in a way that they can relate to? Because here's what nobody wants. Nobody wants, like, Captain Fake boring guy. Right, where you're talking about cupcakes in a way that pleases everybody, and using all the correct, PC terms, and and what you're doing is it's your white noise at that point, right? You got to have a personality, and that doesn't mean Owen's personality or Brandee's personality. It means your personality. Because I totally get you. I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, I'm boisterous, and there are people that are annoyed by me. And you know what? It's all right. I probably wouldn't care for you. You know what? I can't stand people that don't have the balls to, like, give me their opinion on something.
Absolutely.
So my wife and I, we're starting this new thing where we're having friends over once a month, not a lot, but just a couple, and it's going to be themed around a political topic or a religious topic, right? So our next one is police brutality for obvious reasons, and we're inviting our cop friend over. And the whole idea is, let's talk about it in a friendly way, and let's get some things going. But that's my personality. Your personality is the business owner, right? This is a good opportunity to kind of like put a break in the conversation and ask the audience to engage with us. What is your personality, and what is the brand that you want to communicate through video? And you can answer that in the comments underneath the video. And I want you to be a little bit vulnerable with us. And you can tag me, you can tag Brandee, and tell us about your personality type. And what I want to do is kind of engage with you and start getting some ideas on how you can use your personality to create a video marketing plan, a live video plan. So be vulnerable with us. Tell us about your personality. What is it that you're struggling with? What is it that you like to do? And let's get some ideas going in terms of how you could be using live video. So take just 1 second out, scroll up. In the comment section below, you can choose either Google or Facebook, and I think there's a place for WordPress comments, but that's not a really, don't use that. Tag us, and let's talk about it. Let's get a conversation going. While they're doing that, how do you put together topics for a show? Like you get hired to do one-offs, I think, like seminars, workshops, that sort of thing. What about an ongoing show? And correct me if I'm wrong. What about an ongoing show? How do you sit down and actually plan titles and topics and that sort of thing?
Well, so for myself, I think you have to have a theme. Like, there has to be an overarching theme. So some of my clients, have shows. So we talked. They already had shows in place, and they just wanted to incorporate live events. So other clients will do weekly connect with their audience kind of hangouts. And then other clients will do the tail of a launch or building up to a launch. And then the close of the cart. And so everybody's got a variety of things. In the show aspect, I think that it's really important to. I like, because podcasting's so big, I like to, look at those. I think those are good things. I also keep a list for myself, and I'm doing that right now because I'm going to launch my own show, is, challenges that I face daily, different things that,
that's what I do.
Like what we talked about, where I've gone through this kind of wave of, oh, yeah, I've got to remember to get back to who I am. I'm really, this, and I'm being a little too timid right now, so let's get back to finding my voice. And so challenges with that. Like I sent to my list the other day talking about New Year's things, what's your ritual to, I personally like to review my past year and say, okay, what worked, what didn't work, and what did I learn? And then what next year do I want more of, as opposed to, lose weight or quit smoking or quit drinking, which we know is not going to happen. You know what I mean? It's not stuff like that. It's more emotional stuff. Like, what do I want more of? I had the good fortune of, moving quickly into this space and hanging out with some awesome people, and I had a really great time, but I didn't balance it exactly right. So I want more of that connectivity, but with a little bit healthier of a balance. You know what I mean? Things like that.
Sure.
So I think that that's, I look on, I look on YouTube. I watch a lot of videos to see what kind of topics are going around,
Yeah.
see where people are challenged. Obviously, social media is a great place when you see, people posting they need help with this or they need help with that. The different groups and things like that, I think are good.
And you know what I think too is having that theme and focusing around kind of where your business might be burdened right now. Like, are you getting a lot of questions? Like if you're a consultation business, are you getting a lot of questions around YouTube? Are you getting a lot of questions around how the widget works? Then maybe you want to do 5 episodes on answering those questions. And don't you might want to focus on 1 or 2 topics, right? Versus I'm going to hit 10 questions in this HOA. You know what I mean? Because then what you're doing is you're answering 10 questions in a half-assed manner.
Right.
Pick 2 questions and really dig in deep.
Yeah.
And provide that value to your audience who has purchased the product or service, but also you could use that to sell the customer service that you provide when you're doing a new product launch. Hey, look at this video that I did with an HOA with my tribe, because it's not about you buying the product, it's about you actually getting results with the product.
Absolutely. And I think that's the big thing is, like people speak in a different language. This is one part I do like about when you think about marketing is they talk in a different language on their pain points. Sometimes, and I personally suffer from this, is the curse of knowledge. The assumption that everybody knows everything that I do. And so sometimes I forget, which is why I love the consulting side of it and the coaching side of it is you're like, oh, right, because I live and breathe this stuff. It's pretty simple and straightforward for me. But then you have the conversation with your clients, or with your list or however you want to do it. But, ask them very specific questions of where they're struggling, and you'll start to see a theme of the kind of words that they use. And then you want to start to use those words as well to communicate that you're going to be able to help to solve that problem.
Yeah, that's a huge tactic. We actually call that buzzword research, and it's like versus keyword research. But I make all my students that go through my coaching program go to Amazon, go to YouTube and watch the videos, read the reviews, read the comments, and find the words that people are using. Because I think we all have kind of that curse of knowledge. If I were to ask a baker how to cook something, he would be like, you just kind of bake it. But it's like, no, man, 450 degrees for how long, and how big does the oven have to be, and what's convection versus, all these other different things. I just don't know, because I'm not a baker. You know what we use the oven for at my house? To heat the kitchen.
Yeah, same here. I wouldn't know how to, somebody said something to me the other day about cooking, and I was like, you act like that's common sense. I don't know. I had to Google how long do you boil an egg for. Do you know how many results there are? There's like 20 million results for that. I'm like, it's a flippin' egg. How long do you boil the egg for?
I learned that on MasterChef because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I like hard-boiled eggs. So what I do is I just dump a bunch of them in the water. I let it boil until I remember they're boiling. And then I break one. And if it's hard-boiled, then the rest are good.
There you go. Maybe,
it's a highly scientific process.
Yeah, sounds like it. But it'd be my style of process, so I get it.
Tell me about the best thing that live Hangouts have done for you personally. Has it been the money? Has it been the celebrity? Has it been the connections? What has live video done for you that might inspire our audience to get started with it?
Wow, that's a great question. What has that? I think a little bit of all of the above. You know what I mean? It was really, I was like any other struggling entrepreneur trying to figure out what my niche was and what my, my voice was. Like I said, my very first Hangout, I was being a chicken about launching another brand. And I wasn't really that passionate about it, but, and then I did this live Hangout on my birthday, and I had so much fun. As we said, before we went on air, I'm much better off the cuff. I love live. I like the authenticity of live. I don't like any scripted. Of course I have slides, but I was like, do we have to do slides?
Yeah.
So, that was fantastic. And then kind of finding my niche. And then it's so funny, I was on a podcast last week, and it was, the premise of the podcast is, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. It's a famous Steve Jobs, speech. And as I look back, everything pretty much led to me doing Hangouts. And at first I was really was like, I don't want to be the Hangout person. I'm not even a tech person, so it's given me, I was like, well, really, I'm going to be known for Hangouts? Yeah, but the connections that it's given me, and remember, the first few months that I was doing Hangouts, I was just, putting some stuff out there. I wasn't even trying to sell a product or do anything. I was just kind of like, I just loved doing them. I had a lot of fun with them. I still do have a lot of fun with them. I love them. So I think I think that if you're not doing, like, it is the Wild West. I mean, everybody needs to.
It totally is the Wild West.
Yeah. I mean, everyone needs to be doing them. If you're trying to build any type of brand, authority, everyone, there's no business that cannot benefit from doing them. And the sooner you start doing them and doing them well, the bigger results, because it still hasn't trickled down. Like, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he's like, yeah, the first time we talked was like back when you got into Hangouts. And he made it sound like it was like 15 years ago. I was like, yeah, that was like a year and a half ago. He's like, no way. He's like, just a year and a half ago? And so it hasn't trickled down to, the general population yet.
Right.
It's still in the marketing space more so than anything.
It very much is, and that's a great point. And that is why I just want the audience looking at this, range of business people, and I know that there's a lot of marketers out there that work for the business, but to find a way to make it work, and to expose it more, because something like $20 billion from like local channels is like CBS and NBC and what's the national networks or whatever. $20 billion in ad revenue has gone from those networks to YouTube. And YouTube, I was just reading this last night, is that YouTube is now also trying to create, what is it, like originality deals, or so, like someone, like a big YouTuber has to wait 90 days before they upload that same video to another channel. Exclusivity. Exclusivity.
Wow.
So YouTube is working on exclusivity deals now because Vessel is coming out, and there's also Rumble and these other types of networks where you could ingest this content. So there is, if you want to have the best dog show, you can have the best dog show, or the best, Gary Vee was talking about worm show. If you're like the best bait man in the US, YouTube Live and Google Hangout more specifically is such a great tool for making that happen. And it's like you said, it's the Wild West right now. There's so much that can be done, and there's really nobody saying yes you can or no you can't. If you have a Mac, or even like me, a crappy PC with a great camera, we're going back to Apple, by the way. I went into Best Buy. See, I'm an anti-Apple guy, and I hate that you have to it's like you have to buy everything Apple for Apple to be maximized, but it's a superior product. And I go into Best Buy looking for that Mac store experience, and it's just not there. It's not there at all. Everyone's like, oh, that guy could help you. I work in webcams, Yeah. But I digress. My point being is that you can be that thought leader with live video, and all you have to do is pop open your computer. This is a green curtain I bought for $25. You don't even need this, and you could kind of do this thing. I'm showing you my notes, right? So if you're like doing, let me show you like this cool app, and there you've got a web show, or if you've got little trinkets, you can be putting them on the table, and here's how you do this. You could be doing magic tricks. I mean, there's so much that you can do, but if you don't just do it, if you sit there and think about it and kick rocks over it, there's not much to,
Well, this is why I love it too, because you know what, so if I was going to spend, I don't know, let's go on the, I don't know how much, I know you have a whole studio deal, which I love, by the way. I think I told you that already, but I love the deal that you have going. But, when people get overwhelmed with the cost of videographers and editors and renting a studio, and then they feel obligated to have to script it properly, and then they're really nervous, and, that's what I love about your process too, is that you really helped people open up because you have that personality.
Yeah.
You go hire a videographer down the street and he's a dud. You got to rely on yourself to get more comfortable and at ease. The cool thing about being live on air, and you were talking about a couple of interviews where people started to loosen up a little bit. It takes a little bit of time. So the more you do it, the more loose you're going to come, and a lot more fun you're going to have on air. And if you treat it like fun and not, you're like, you just pop open your laptop and shoot a 5-minute of you blathering about something, you're like, oh, wait, I didn't die. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like, no, like there's not a lynch mob out there to kill me right now.
The
I
sun
didn't
still
lose
rises.
$1 million, right? I mean, this is a great way just to like, just fuck it, have fun. You know, screw it, just
Yeah.
do it was my favorite hangout of last year, and he ended up writing a book about it. So it's not
See,
just
there
like,
you go.
yeah.
I told my friend Sebastian. Do you know Sebastian Rusk?
Sounds like the name sounds familiar, but I don't know him.
You've probably seen him around. He's very loud. I told him because he's a good friend. We go way back, and we're both in the social space. And I said, let's do our summit interview with beers. With beers.
Oh, nice. Well, you and I have had that conversation.
And you and I have talked about that, right? Because it's kind of like this, oh, no, you guys are professionals, but how cool would it be? You cannot tell me, whether you drink or not, that some of your best conversations have not been at a bar, at a restaurant, when the lights are low and it's dimmed and you're sipping on a beer, an IPA, and you're just being real. And you're thinking about, like, what if we did this and what if we did that? You know, I remember sitting around at the local bar talking with a guy named Tommy Rivera, and I'm not afraid to say his name because he's on Vine. He's got a growing Vine presence, about how, you know, anything that they do needs to be marketable, because he's like 10 years younger than me, and I'm watching him do all this stuff, and there's no monetization plan. Now, he's close friends with a guy named David Lopez, who's one of the biggest names on Vine. And now they've got Doritos deals, now they've got all these brand deals, and they've gone so far with it. Am I taking credit for it? No, absolutely not. But we had that conversation over a beer. And so, you know, it's get real. You know what I mean? Just be who you are. I love IPAs. I'm starting to love porters and some of those darker beers. And you know what? I'd love to do a beer show on HOA. You know what I mean? Well, maybe that's in the cards. Maybe you can do it with me.
Well, yeah, you and I talked about this when we talked on the phone. I don't know, what was it, like a month or two ago, you know, where I, like, my whole thing was going to be Thirsty Thursday. And, you know, I wanted everybody to be, you know, not necessarily sloppy drunk, but I want everyone to drink on it. I drink on all of my hangouts. And sometimes you can tell and sometimes you can't. Sometimes I'm more buzzed and sometimes I'm not. But I find that, you know, like, again, going through that, you know, that phase of, you know, worrying about what people thought, I was like, all right, I'm going to get some booze in this and then I'm going to have a much better conversation about it.
Social lubricant.
Yeah, it's social lubricant. It definitely is. You know, so, I mean, you'll see photos on my, you know, Instagram, Facebook wall, and whatever, you know, where there's beer, you know, beer sitting right there, and I, like, put Mardi Gras beads on the beer, and I'm about to shoot my HOA. Even if it's just me, not even in an interview format, it's just me. And again, like, you know, because it is the Wild West, you know, no one's judging. Like, no one's looking at it. And like I said, you end broadcast. I never, ever watch my stuff. I'm like you. I'll check, you know, beginning, middle, and end to make sure the content's there. But I never listen to myself. I have never once watched a video of myself. I've never once watched a hangout on the air. I cannot stand to hear my voice. You know what I mean? So I just am like, okay, quality-wise, it's there, perfect. And I let it go. And it's out there, and I just let it go. You know,
and you know what? I'm sure you're like me. You're probably reflective. You know, it's like, okay, what went good about that? You know, what didn't go so well, you know, with that? I mean, I have been interviewing people. I was a journalism major in college. I've been interviewing people for 5 years. You know, I feel like it's natural. I know how to keep the conversation going. I know how to track the time. But my first interview was horrible. I kept asking yes or no questions. I kept on complimenting it was a business. I still remember it was a coffee shop owner, and I was complimenting their coffee, and they're like, you know, thanks. You know, that's not much of an interview. You know, you can't get that out of them. So you have to learn how to do these things. You have to learn how to be live. You know, and we're not saying go out there and drink, but you and I both enjoy having a cold beer or a cocktail. And it's part of like our unwinding process. If for you it's tea, do your show with tea. There's nothing that says you can't have a cup of tea on your desk. There's nothing that says there's all these kind of rigid standards that you have to abide by. Open the thing up, be your content, or be who you are, do your content, and then learn from it. You know, take notes. What did you like? What didn't you like? And then improve on that in the next time. And I'm sure that you cover a lot of this stuff in some of your courses. So tell our audience, how can we keep in touch with you and learn more from you and grow by following you around?
So brandeesweesy.com obviously is my personal brand, and then hangoutsforbusiness.com is all things related to Hangouts. Though I talk about Hangouts on brandeesweesy.com as well. Either or, and then every single social media channel is Brandee Sweesy.
I love following you on Facebook because you're so active on Facebook.
Well, I haven't been the last couple of days, but yeah, I'm pretty vocal. We were talking about that before too. Yeah, on Facebook, I like that's my home space. We were talking about this. You know, I'm not a big fan of Twitter. You won't see me tweet a lot. If you tweet me, I'll tweet you back because I get a little notification on my phone. But other than that, I never actually look at Twitter. I know, bad social media person. Instagram's kind of my thing right now. We were talking about that too. I kind of dig Instagram. It was fun because I was anonymous over there. Like on Facebook, I've had 5,000 friends on Facebook since the beginning. I did a run at Oprah. I tried to get a show on the OWN network, and so that's why I have a bazillion friends.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so I've always kind of like been weaning off of Facebook a little bit, but I'm getting ready to ramp back up over there too.
You know what? I have a renewed love for Facebook. I've discovered I've been way more active in groups than I am on my newsfeed, and talking with like-minded people, and also kind of like this new generation of social marketer like yourself, like Kate Buck Jr., who's on this, like Sebastian, where we're just kind of unabashedly ourselves. And not, some of the, I don't know her personally. I love her content, but I'm just going to say Amy Porterfield, who to me is like just a little bit too like, polished and perfect. And, she runs like Mary Poppins of social media marketing. And it doesn't seem real to me. It just doesn't, you know what I mean? It just doesn't seem real to me. And I love her. Don't get me wrong. I listen to her podcast. She lives a block or two away.
Not like that at all.
Yeah. I'm sure she's wonderful, but it's not. It's just like we get in these Facebook groups and we're real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I'll tell you, behind the scenes, she's nothing like that.
That's awesome.
It's so funny because I'm not going to go on in this story, but it was pretty funny. But yeah, there was a little circle of people, and we were talking about that. Like, we would love to see her come out and be just like the wild child.
And
you know what I mean?
She's actually brought it up on her podcast where she says, people are telling me that I'm a little bit too, like by the book and formal, but she's like, I have like this neuroses where if it's not totally perfect, I just can't let it go, and I'm working on it. So and I hope to meet her someday, and I would love for us to become great friends in the future. It's just like I want to see real people, and I want the audience to be real, because if you're kind of an asshole that makes great cupcakes, then be that guy on the web.
Yeah.
Or if you're just kind of like, a little bit more reserved, but you have a great clothing business, be that reserved person. Be who you are, because that's who the audience wants to see. And I hope that you, our audience today, have enjoyed seeing sort of, me getting a little bit more real. And Brandee, you're totally real, and I love everything about you. And I appreciate you coming on the show today. So if you guys had a good time, I want you to comment in the comment section underneath this video. Tell us what you liked about this interview. Tell us, leave any questions that you have that you feel we did not cover on this topic today, because live video, there's lots of ways to do live video. HOA is the most accessible way to do it. So if you're struggling, you've got questions, leave them in the comment section. Tag myself, tag Brandee, and don't forget there are 14 more interviews, and there are 6 bonus interviews, all part of the Small Business Success Summit. So don't stop here. Watch the other videos, download the audio, however you want to ingest it. I hope to hear more from you. I hope that you're growing every day because of this. And if you want to reach us, don't forget to use the hashtag SBSS. Brandee, thank you for joining us today, and thank you, the audience, for joining us for another installment of the Small Business Success Summit. We'll see you on the flip side.